Order. Call this meeting under 15.2-1418. It's a special meeting of the governing body shall be held when called by chairman or mayor or requested by two or more members of the board of supervisors or council. The call or request shall be made to the clerk and shall specify the matters to be considered at the meeting. The purpose of the meeting is to further discuss the FY 22-23 budget with regards to tax levy. We'll go ahead and open with prayer this morning.
Sure.
Good.
Father God, thank you for letting us gather here this morning and watch over us as we make significant decisions that affect our people. May we make good decisions that honor you and be polite and respectful in all our discussions. And let us have a very good week. Thank you very much. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Jordan and pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Reading.
Like two and two.
Oh, that was, that was one down there. I didn't see you in the I thought I was hearing things this morning. All righty. Check our quorum if you want.
Yes, sir. All right. So, Ms. Bechtel,
Present.
Ms. Pippenbrook,
Here.
Mr. Cox,
Here.
Mr. Booth,
Here.
and Mr. Turner.
Here.
All right, everyone is here, one way or another.
You dog one out there. That's all right. We'll take turns.
And as I wrote to y'all, we'll between now and our next regular meeting, I'll double check about if we can make some changes to expand our ability to do more things electronically during meetings. So I'll double check.
Well, it's changed a lot since I think that ruling was made anyway, and I think it needs to be upgraded, to where it, because, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do and people's just not here, and so. Do you have a figure? I know what I think it is. If we don't have, if we have to re-advertise, or not re-advertise, but reprint the tax tickets and all, you have a ballpark figure on how much that would cost? 10,000 sticks in my mind for some reason.
So, Mr. Chairman, we did have a phone call with Missy this morning as a follow-up to my email to her on Friday with some of these questions. And I think, of course, that what has been printed already does not include a rate. So when they print the tax tickets, this was news to me, candidly, when they print the tax tickets, they actually run them through twice. Once they run them through with the due date, and then once you all establish a rate, then they run it through again with that rate. So right now, the tickets have been run to assume a June 5th date. So if you were to change the due date printed on the ticket, there's kind of a two-part cost associated with that, but it's at least right around $6,000 to rerun it, and then that's the first part of the charge. And then there's a second charge that's more the mailing cost, so I don't know that would have to be redone. And for overage, but probably around $6,000 if you change the date. We did talk about if you all chose to keep the date the same, but extend a grace period, which would not then be advertised on the bills. That is an option as well, but then it wouldn't be on people's bills. So just to know, you could do that. But really, to print the rate, whatever it is, I think it would be fair to say she's pleading with you for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of this week. As well as Lisa. And the part of the reason is, because, we're assuming a June 5th date of when the bills are due, the statute requires 14 days for taxpayers to pay. And so then we have to work back and then also to work through this printing company from Lynchburg. And it just kind of, it appears to be a pretty small operation. They don't actually have a website, but at least that I've been able to find. But it's in Lynchburg, so it's just kind of whatever order we come in around other counties that also do it this way. So
And
that's kind of what
14 working days, right? 14 business days.
The statute requires, I believe, just 14 days,
Hey, Chris,
but I need to double check. I can pull that up.
hey, Chris. Yes, I do.
The 5th falls on Saturday, I think.
I started doing that yesterday, and
Print you something.
I think it's because
Yeah.
might need to be in
If
this.
may I ask a question?
Does that
Yes.
look better?
okay, all right, thank you.
So Kim has been looking up exactly to your point, Mr. Booth, so if you give us just a minute on that, to make sure that it's either working days or business days, because to your point, that's a significant difference.
Yeah.
Are these bills, will these be covered under the munis stuff for us to be able to print in-house in the future?
I would hope so. That is certainly one of the questions that we will be asking.
Okay,
We will, we have moved the date to do the demonstration to, I believe it's the 12th. And so that'll certainly be on the list to ask about if we can print it ourselves or at least do more of the printing ourselves.
wonderful.
Didn't we have a discussion a few years ago about trying to get it in-house where we could print all that, but it was gonna cost some
But that
ungodly
was-
amount?
You was gonna have to get some other new thing under the Bright system.
Right, but now munis, if it's all,
It was gonna be an additional cost on
Right.
that Bright system.
For some reason, it seemed like it was, just wasn't feasible to do it at the
But
time.
whatever system we end up with, hopefully. whether
Yeah.
it's
right,
that-
munis is just what I know.
I know. Whatever system we end up with would hopefully have that capability.
I'm sure it would be appreciated to have that capability, just, if you find there's an error or something, you can just pull it yourself, and that would be
Internal corrections.
really helpful.
Instead of having to back up and do it all over again.
And send it out.
There may be other stuff
Linda
too.
has a question.
That's it.
Go ahead, Linda.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Yes, Jerry, the 5th is on a Sunday, so the due date would be the 6th. But of course, back in the day, even though the tax ticket wouldn't say you have a 2-week grace period, there are enough ways that we can get that information out to taxpayers, although many of our citizens, as soon as they get it in the mail, they're prepared for it and they're ready to go to the treasurer's office or drop that envelope in the mail. That is normally how it's done. But depending on what we do here, I would go on record as saying I have no problem with extending a grace period with no interest penalty for 2 weeks from the June 6th date, but that's, my personal opinion. Thank you. And that demo is May 12th, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
That's the ordinance.
We'll go from here now.
Let's see if we can find Steve. Let's have a look. Let's see if we can find Steve for you.
And what time is that demo?
What time's the demo?
I'm looking.
Okay.
I'm looking it up now, hold on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Should be Thursday. You're at June
That's the problem. 9 a.m.
Thank you.
Um, 58, 139, 16. Yeah, yeah, that's, can't text them under appeal.
Hey, Chris, is there any way I can see my fellow supervisors when they're speaking?
Not that I could set up within the next like couple minutes, unfortunately.
Then, thank you.
Sorry.
No problem. That's okay.
Teach your brain.
Were we allowed the PSA to not make payments in the next budget year? Did we deduct that 22,000 income from the revenue side?
To balance it.
I did not.
So that needs to be done. So that's gonna change the numbers yet again then. I know I took us the wrong direction.
It's all right. That's all right.
Before that, we were at 31,000 to
Backwards.
the,
I'm still
To
on
the
the wrong
good.
one, because oh yeah, it's on the request, right, okay.
yeah.
31,715,
Yeah, I took us the wrong direction with
That's all
that,
right.
but
that's all right.
it needs to be adjusted.
Yes. I'll take care of that.
Given our situation, I don't know.
We'll be about 9 something, right?
Yeah.
To the good.
On line 17, are those numbers accurate? They seem to have changed in an odd way.
Oh, way back up there.
Yeah.
Let's see what I got, if I can get there.
Or am I just, in all the discussions we've had?
Line 17?
Yes, ma'am. Is that an additional employee?
Okay.
Let's see,
Which line?
17.
17 under county
I
administrative.
think that's the adjustment anyway.
Yeah.
Excuse
So
me.
for that one,
That's moving Chris from a different line.
it is,
Okay.
within the bottom line for the department did not change.
Okay,
But
I was just,
no, good,
like-
it was a good catch, and I'm sorry I
Interesting.
didn't explain it
Okay.
earlier. Originally, if you look on line 35,
uh-huh,
there's an 82,000.
right,
That
right.
was adjusted to 12, and I just moved him up so I could
Okay.
get an accurate insurance and all that, and give you a true
Okay.
number for
That-
compensation.
I just caught that.
Oh,
I
of
was like,
course,
oh my
of course.
goodness, what happened there?
But obviously, it didn't change that
Right,
bottom line from
right.
original.
Right, I wasn't
Other
sure,
than a
if-
little bit with the
yeah.
5% raise and his
Right.
insurance, things of that
Yeah.
nature.
I don't know if your formulas carry over, you
No,
know, if
it's
there
a
was
good-
an
Please, at
act-
any time.
transposition.
And then remember, we talked about, once this fiscal budget, I'm gonna create a separate
Right.
description and department within the budget for Chris and for IT.
Right,
But to do it now would pull everything from different places and not be accurate, because he's not utilizing that.
right. Thank you for reminding me.
Okay, while we're doing that, while she's getting on, under animal control on 323, does that number still reflect three full-time?
Yes.
Okay,
And for that, remember when I got with Sheriff Craig, he realigned employees, so all
Right.
his, between the sheriffs, the dispatchers, with Kevin and the dispatchers, the clerk of courts, individuals, and animal control are all within the correct department per Sheriff Craig.
Right.
So
Thank you.
why that went down is because Dale, who carried a heavier salary,
Went
went
over.
up to the sheriff, and then I think it was Amanda moved
Right.
into animal control, and it's 3 full-time positions.
Okay. So that's 3 full-time positions to add 127,
That's correct.
731. Okay.
Sorry, I found it.
She's got the book.
I got the book. So, Mr. Chair, if I might, in 58.1-3912, local tax officials to mail certain tax documents to taxpayers, penalties, electronic transmission. A, the treasurer of every city and county shall, as soon as reasonably possible in each year, but not later than 12 days prior to the due date of the taxes, send or cause to be sent by United States mail to each taxpayer assessed with taxes and levies for that year, a bill or bills setting forth the amounts due. And the treasurer can elect to not send you a bill for less than $20. Failure of any such treasurer to comply with this section shall be a class 4 misdemeanor, so no matter, understandable why she's pretty excited about it.
I can understand that.
Yes. So anyway, here it is if anybody'd like to read the rest of it themselves. But so it just says, to Mr. Booth's point, it needs to be not later than 14 days be in the mail
From the due date.
from the due date.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I should have known that. Made you guys quiet.
What, they did ask, the change in the administration, or will Chris
Okay.
payroll?
Yes, and so my phone call that I jumped up to make, sorry, was to call Missy and clarify things with her. Our second call this morning.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question again?
Yes.
What was our savings if we went to a part-time animal control? Was that 29,000?
For some reason 22 sticks out.
I think it was 22.
22. That sticks out of my mind.
I think,
Per salary.
well, then associated.
Right.
Yeah.
So Kim, the line 323 Jerry was referring to, that
Right.
that included the full-time he was asking for, right? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have I brought my laptop, my iPad with me. I neglected to bring my notebook that I've been keeping notes on. So I'm sorry if I have to re-ask certain questions. Yeah, I remember 22 and 29,000 being kicked around. I just want to have these numbers with me while we're discussing.
I think the difference is the associated cost. 22 is salary and 29 is the total associated cost.
Right, so that would be reduced.
Right. If we're looking at the 23 to 22.
Mr. Chairman, can
Yeah.
Kim, can I, just so I make sure I'm clear as a bell here, at the very bottom, recap, on the recap, we are, after the adjustments made for what Mr. Booth was talking about, will roughly be 9,000 to the good on the proposed recap with the 2% or the 2-cent real estate increase. Right now, we're at 31,715.
It would be $9,715.
And that's with 2-cent real estate increase and going back and using some of the stabilization fund, right? Or not? To get that 30,
No, the
To get the 31.
stabilization still remained at 13,755 if you go up to line 804. That original
Right.
13 remained there.
Sir, what you might be thinking about is it does include using the 100% carryover.
that's what I mean,
funds.
yeah, sorry.
Yes, so
Yeah,
like
the
the
carryover.
160,000 for the courthouse roof that we didn't
That's,
spend.
okay.
Yeah, we took the small fixed known 209,000, like Linda mentioned, the courthouse, the library was a part of it. So those two big carryovers I just put in there to give you a guide to know.
Okay. All right, so then to confirm that point then, it takes the 2 cent real estate increase and the 100% carryover funds to get us to where we need to be.
If we were to remain today
To-
with this budget.
To
yes.
remain 9,000 to the good.
Correct.
Okay. Just making sure I was on point there.
And if I may, Chairman, where is that 9,000? Is that written down anywhere here? I don't see it.
Now, Linda, I'm not sure if you heard, Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Jerry had mentioned that to remove the PSA payment for 1 year out of the revenue side, which I have not done, which would be approximately 22,000. So if we deduct 22,000 from your 820, line 820, it would come out to $9,715, but I haven't plugged it in as of yet.
Gotcha. Understood. Got it. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. So, a few days ago, there was an interesting conversation had with a Craig County School Board member. And they were able to level fund. They did not go back to their board asking for any money this year. And I know that they're facing the similar situation that we are in Craig County.
But the trouble with going back to another county, even though they're similar, they got a whole different tax base, they got a whole different
Right.
way of doing
Right.
everything. And it's really hard to get apples to apples, you know. I know I'm like you, I've
Right.
talked to other board of supervisors, but I do that just sort of get a handle on how they're thinking
Mm-hmm.
and then sort of,
Right.
but, you know, so far I've never run into one that's got the same situation
Right.
we've got.
No, we're all
you know.
different.
Yeah,
Are we entertaining that 65% tax relief on the personal property for vehicles? Which would keep our income about the same. And it would keep tax bills the same for personal property.
I don't think it's been discussed, has it?
Not formally.
No.
Can I ask, question back to Kalinda, that, on that school thing, what number was that?
For us,
Was that what we were talking about, like was 100?
104,
104,000 is what they're asking for.
an
Okay.
increase, yeah.
I got a lot of numbers thrown out in my head, I just can't remember where they go.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
mine this weekend.
Yeah.
Right,
I mean, it's just like a roller coaster. It's just,
yeah,
every time you think you got something going, something messes it up.
yeah.
Well, I wrestled with that all weekend. This is my 5th year on the board this time. It's my understanding for a couple of years prior to that. This is the first time they've asked for an increase in local money.
The economy's changed a lot.
Well, no, but it has for them too,
Right.
as long with everybody else.
Right.
And, if I knew for sure they were getting state money to cover it, I wouldn't have a problem pulling it.
Right.
If I thought the state would have state funding unobligated, and I'll explain if I hadn't before, there's certain money comes in that they have to spend in certain places, and then there's a pot that they do get to move around on their own. That's what I call undesignated.
Can I interject
Sure.
something here? I'm no expert on anything, you know, but I don't know how many times this is your budget, and I know this is my 11th budget. Every year we struggle with something different. But I always try to look a couple of years down the road, you know, when I'm thinking about a budget. And with everything I hear on the news or I've read, we're gonna have to be really, really careful what we cut and get rid of this year, because it's gonna come back and bite us next year. If we cut too much, then we're gonna have to make it up next year, because I honestly believe next year is gonna be even worse than this year. Even if the economy turned around right now, it'd take a couple of years. And, you know, it's like we've did in the past. I'm just gonna throw this out here. I'm not, you know, I'm just saying what we did one time with 5-cent tax increase. The only way I would vote for it was that we balanced that budget that year. The rest of it went in this stabilization fund. We was able, because everything started picking up, we was able to go a couple of years and not raise taxes. We'd take it right out of stabilization, we was balanced and move on. I don't think we got any choice, as much as I hate to do it, because I didn't want to raise taxes this year, I still don't. But we may go ahead, or have to go ahead and do the 2-cent. Get this thing balanced, go ahead and after we get the levy set and cut as much as we can. But everything we save goes in that stabilization for emergencies only. The only time we touch it is when we have to touch it. You know, and, you know, that was just the way I've been thinking about it. Of course, like I say, I'm just throwing it out there, you know. It's like brains, everybody's got an opinion. Some use them, some don't. Floyd, you didn't know.
May I? So I know this budget is really, really hard. My concern this year, we raised taxes to balance the budget. Next year, we raise taxes to balance the budget. And I know all of our county expenses are going up, but they're going up for our people too. And they can't just go out and turn around and get more money. So I think we need to be the hard line to protect our folks. At some point, we just need to say, you know, it's absolute needs versus wants for us to spend our money on. And I think, you know, this is the year to start thinking about it for next year. And it's going to be, instead of punishing the masses to help a few, we got to protect the masses, making hard cuts to start thinking about for next year. Because we can't just keep taxing our people to death.
Where there's an action, there's a reaction,
Yeah,
and
there
I
always
agree
is.
with you, because me and my wife's already been discussing, you know, because we're both on fixed income. but
Right.
We've been blessed with a better retirement than most people. You know, fuel prices and everything else is killing me and well, I feel sorry for the other people. I guess, a windshield farmer, you know, I don't have that many cattle. But that fuel cost, just like my gas truck yesterday, cost me right at $100 to fill it up. Cost me $100 and some to fill up my farm truck. That's not counting what my 2 tractors are running, you know, taking care of. So it's hurting us too,
Right.
you know, so we've got that in mind.
So if we balance this budget and we tell all these department heads, start thinking where you can cut, because it's coming.
What, this year or next year?
We do this year, but we let them all know now, you need to start thinking about, it's not gonna be like this next year. It's gonna be tight, smaller wallets, less bills in it.
Well, that's one thing I gotta say about department heads. In the last couple of years, we've dealt with them. I mean, they have done a fantastic job of cutting. I mean, they've done got it down about to the bones anyway, you know. I mean, you can always,
That's what, was it last year we did that, sent it back to them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
you know,
Can I make on line 795? Oh, no, not 795, sorry, 731?
Let me get there.
No, not 731, sorry. Where am I at? It is, is it 592? Yep, 592, sorry. Are we gonna cut that to 0? Since we can't get out of it?
Well, I thought we were waiting on a word from Kevin on what he thought could be worked out on that back out.
But we will have to sign an agreement before the bylaws are made, and once you sign it, you're done.
Well, I know, but that's
Yeah.
what he was gonna see if he couldn't amend the agreement
Okay,
and get I think, wasn't that the way we left it?
okay,
Yes, it was.
okay.
Yeah. That you were gonna get with Kevin and see if he could talk to the others and see if they would agree to some kind of backup clause on that pre-agreement.
All right.
I guess I'm asking more
This
than
question,
anything.
okay.
I'm asking-
See when's the right time to say something.
We've thought about
We've talked about so many
so many
things.
things, but I was thinking that's the way we
Yeah.
left it.
So this is what I got back from Kevin. He did respond. It says, "Thank you for letting me know about the board's deliberations. The main item I discussed with the governing board," so past tense, "is the difference between the administrative function and the participation agreement. The intention is to use a participation agreement for any capital projects," which I think is what I shared with you. "That way, the members can self-select whether they want to contribute above the nominal administrative cost to operate the entity. The participation agreement is the principal tool to help isolate the potential financial liability when taking on the larger projects, such as constructing a station. I'm happy to discuss further. Let me know my time might work for you." So, as you will probably recall, so I think what he's sharing is that amount, that 5,600, is what they anticipate being our share of the operating for the authority. When there are projects that come up, say building, the station or whatever, then you all can choose to sign up to be a part of that project and any expenditures and potential revenue that comes out of that or not. But to Ms. Bechtel's point, this is, the expectation is that 5,600-ish is what covers the operating cost of the authority.
For our share.
For our share, yes. Now, others have much greater share than ours. The bigger four ones, I think, all have, maybe 100,000 or so. I have in my notes somewhere, but it's substantial, much more substantial than ours.
I think for my comfort, I need that very, very clear, and what limits, because I know it says for fees also in that contract. Exactly what fees entail, because where I'm from, there's a transit authority, and last year's estimate that they wrangled everybody for, so last year's construction costs was a $30 billion expansion. And all of the people who signed that agreement are on the hook for last year, $30 billion. And now that's more than doubled in cost. And is that a fee? I mean, it needs to be very, very clear. Caps on fees and what fees. So I'm just very hesitant still about this endeavor. I'm not gonna make any assumptions if it's not on the black part on the paper.
They are aware of other locations outside of Virginia?
Yes.
Yeah, that's certainly not comparing
Right.
apples to apples. I get what you're saying. I know what you came from. You've also got to remember a Commonwealth operates in a much different sense, and even the authorities within a Commonwealth are
Right.
much different. I can understand your trepidation. I think these questions are warranted answers by Kevin, and maybe even I can jump on the call with you, Linda, if need be. I don't think that's necessary, but I can even pick up the call and call a phone and talk to Ray Smoot if I have to help get some answers. But I think this is an important endeavor for the entire region. We have clamored for years to be included in things, and we are now being included in many different things. Sometimes it comes with a bit of a cost, but I think it would be unfortunate for us not to move forward with this. But I understand you're wanting to get some answers, and I have no problem with that
I
at
just,
all.
I would like devil's advocate, worst case scenario questions answered, and, for these kind of agreements.
My message to the board is meeting now, and again, while they are interested, they are aware of other locations outside of Virginia that experienced a substantial change once they signed on, so are looking for some reassurance. Perhaps we could do a call. How does that sound?
She just threw-
Very politically
She
correct.
she just threw a hook out there and it's got a bar. Let's see if Kevin sees it.
Well, I'm learning.
Yes, you are.
This is why she's the intermediary for me, because I have no tact.
Do you have any questions on the rail or anything since we're on it?
I don't own the rail. And just to clarify again, though, one real estate sin is $169,000, right? Dollars.
Which-
We do have, we have something we need to clarify on the PSA contribution.
Mhm.
And so I'll let Kim do that.
Within the description and how it was set up, the only revenue that shows within the budget is the interest on the PSA loan.
Oh, so it wouldn't be the whole 22?
$2,986.
Oh, okay.
But your audit says there's a $20,000
Right.
contribution that comes from them. So
Right.
I'm not sure what the,
Right, and even I just looked it up in the general ledger, it is, and I'll find out more about it, but it's neither coded a revenue or an expenditure within the system. So that's why it doesn't reflect on,
So it may not show up in the revenue anyway, the 2022. It's just the interest on the 22.
correct.
Okay.
The interest has a separate account that is a revenue.
So that made it go back up.
So
back.
that
Well,
goes back
not
up
back exactly, but pretty close.
28,729.
That interest, okay.
Right, so
So-
I just deducted the interest revenue, which I can do that in here. Would you like me to do that in here?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
I'm
yes.
gonna put it to 0.
But it's not truly an expense of that.
No, the way they got it, the way it's coded and
Right.
everything, it's,
So many details.
So we can refresh, huh?
Yeah, let me
Well,
make-
I knew-
Let me make sure it carries over first.
I knew we had to make some kind of allowance, I just wasn't sure what, so.
Would you be willing to give up 1,500 off your Blue Ridge Heritage?
That was another, we've been cutting.
Mr. Chairman, can you recognize me later after that discussion is finished, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Let it reflect, I turned the chair back over to the chairman. Uh, I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but that's really needed there.
It'll make a huge
Yeah,
difference.
it'll make a difference, and
Just have to ask.
I know, but, and that's fine, but, I mean,
Right.
would we have to make some adjustments? Yes, but it would be in the wrong direction.
Just,
I
just
think.
asking.
No,
Asking
it's,
down the line.
and I'm just answering.
Yeah, and I'm good with that.
But we're just trying to keep up with DMV on that and that.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, I'm refreshing, where'd I go back
You
to?
wanna go in there?
Ready?
I haven't seen a change on mine
I think so.
Not yet.
yet. Okay.
I think
Give me
so.
1 second.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
How about line 576?
which one is that? I'm
Friends
gonna,
of Southwest Virginia.
576
Linda
We
wanted to
gave
say
nothing
something.
last year.
Crooked Road, round the mountain.
Give us 1 minute,
Or
Linda.
is that
See,
because of
what they
your-
did, they renamed it and combined them.
Okay.
See, we were doing the Crooked Road,
Okay.
and we wasn't doing the, round the mountain part. And they just renamed, they merged and
That's why I had
renamed
nothing here.
themselves,
Yeah.
So that's actually, I look at that as being our Crooked Road contribution.
Okay. So that's just this would have been Crooked Road number.
That would have been round the mountain
Okay.
number. Yeah,
Years ago, they were sort
And
of
now it's-
double
yeah.
dipping there.
so they combined them
Right.
together.
But this empty cell is
That's
just an
because
over.
we didn't,
Right.
we didn't contribute to round the mountain.
Right. And this should come, if we do the TOTS increase, that would come from there because it's tourism,
Yeah, that should come out of that
that bucket.
transit occupancy,
Right.
or I'm guessing. Did,
We haven't had a public hearing on that yet.
no.
No.
Did you, did y'all ever have time to sort of rough calculate what additional funding would come in from the, fee increases we're talking about doing that were proposed? Just ballpark, I'm not looking.
No, I
No
think-
hook, no hooks, no hooks at all, it's just a line out there.
Carla had done some kind of initial noodling, and it was maybe $1,300. It was more behavior modification
Right.
than fundraising.
All right, and
So,
we were bouncing around taking the transit occupancy to the max.
well, there is no max.
Well,
So that means we can go away.
and
I was
Jim,
surprised to learn.
refresh my memory right now, what is it right now?
I believe you're at 5%. So it's the
5%.
the first portion, it goes to the county, then the next portion up to the 5% goes to tourism, and then after that, any increase that you make beyond that 5% is also county funds.
That we can direct back to tourism.
You can, yes,
And-
that you can direct to tourism or anything else.
Right.
Anything else is
So
allowed.
if we went to 6 or 7, do we know an estimate? I guess what I'm getting at, is anybody estimated per percent, what increase we would talk about, roughly look at in revenue?
I think one thing we need to do is have somebody that can do some research and make sure that everybody that's supposed to be paying is paying.
Yeah, we need to help them out with that,
Yeah.
big time.
I think Linda had a question while we're,
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine. I mean, I just looked through here. I think, I don't really see anything left in the community services for my feeling. I'd like to go back, and I'm not trying to pick on anything, but 439, the two part-time, the increase in part-time for recreation. I would like to know what is that dollar amount within that. 99,
I'm sorry.
195, and 101, 695 that we've now said yes to. First off, how did it get an extra 2? And second off, what is the difference between what they're working now as part-timers and what they would be going to dollar-wise? Notwithstanding the other raise.
I can answer, I'm sorry, ma'am. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I can answer the second one pretty quickly, and then maybe Kim can do some noodling. So, part of what would be happening is during the months when they are most busy, the part-time person, the part-time office person would be going to the maximum hours they can without us paying benefits. And then at other times in the year, it'll go down. So we've been trying to work with that employee to try to, that they won't necessarily have a schedule year-round, that they always work, say, Tuesday, I don't know, 9 to 11, but that it would vary based on need. So that's what part of the change is there. And also
Yeah, but-
increase in hours.
Isn't there a month or a day limit also, so if they don't work during the winter time at all, we can run them more hours for a specific period of time?
Well, like the master's in HR, they can answer you.
It's just hard to do that when somebody's depending on some sort of an income to all of a sudden sort of pull the rug out. I mean, recreation, I understand recreation. Recreation is a year-round business. I just want to make sure that how we're running our recreation department, especially with our employees, is the most efficient use of their time and our money, as it is for every department. I mean, we've all talked about this weekend and how we've wrestled with things. I mean, each morning I wake up, I know I must be just the machinations going on in my brain over this as I sleep, because I wake up thinking about the budget. One of the major costs of this county is what we pay the people to run it. And, we are here now from years and years and years of really underpaying people, and then a salary study done, which we're still trying to find money to help make it all work. I can't really talk about it because it was mostly done in closed session, but I still don't know that I feel the methodology was the best. But that being said, that's where we are and here we're at. There's a lot of money that we spend on paying our people. And I just want to make sure that I'm not coming at anybody trying to cut, but I just need to know, and I need to know that even though somebody gets another degree, that the money that we spend is going to be spent with somebody that's going to be there every single, recreation is not an easy thing. When you go into recreation as a career, you're going to be putting in long, hard hours.
Well, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna ask, that second part-time position, has it already been filled? I mean, is it already there?
Mm-hmm. She's been working
Okay.
for quite some time, and so we have 2 people there. One is does the grounds work, and that was filled by someone else who then left to go to school and was replaced by someone. And then the person that works in the office with Jacob has been here also for a couple of years. And I will note that I think I've told some of you this individually. So our surrounding counties, on average, offer 6 to 7 sports for their kids. We offer 13. So that means schedules and coaches and organization for twice as many as much larger places. So, and I know,
Which is
Well, this-
good because
it's good.
our young people don't have what other counties' young
Right.
people's got.
Right.
So we need to make sure that they've got,
Correct.
Well,
I did go around and check, because I thought it seemed like a lot, but as Mr. Turman and I have talked about, I was a dance mom, not a sports mom, so it's a little different.
well, and
We're just as grumpy though.
I understand needing the extra help with the outside sports. I really do, because there's a lot more upkeep, a lot more stuff going on. I would have been more inclined to have had a second person from May till October than full year, but that's just me. But I'm going off of my experience from serving on the previous authority board and how it operated and how the employees operated. So it's a little bit different. And I'll shut up before I say something.
Chairman?
Hold on one second.
Okay.
While I'm on, or while we're on the rec, this may not be rec, but what's in my brain, I better say something. Playground equipment. How much was it? I looked all through this budget and I couldn't find it this weekend.
Because it's not in this budget, so you didn't miss it.
No wonder I couldn't
You
find
did
it.
not miss it. It was
Thank
in,
you,
it was in the ARPA spreadsheet.
Oh, okay.
And so, if I might, yeah, which is in the folder, but it's not folded into the budget.
Right.
And so, the original amount for all the great things was gonna be like around 140. What I had suggested is to put in around 78, which that was the estimate, then, that was the offer then for the kind of, the equipment itself. And then if, if the county's willing to commit that, then Jacob has been able to find some folks that he believes will help sponsor some of the other costs. And so that was between some foundation and some volunteers and nonprofit organizations that could kind of help make up the rest. Ladina did also go by the place in Dougspur, and so we have information on which one that is. I think it might be the same company. It had signs for two companies there, and one of them's one of the ones that gave us the bid.
Well, inquiring minds need to know, so I've been talking to different people and getting them to check for me. I know they built a community playground in Freeze. And the lady that spearheaded this, she started in 2018, which is a long time ago, but she researched, she found some grants. And it was matching grants. And she came in at $30,000 by the time, with the grants and with what the community put in. The only thing they had to do was furnish the cross ties and cement to anchor them in the mulch. The one at the wellness center, a lady did that one in honor of her daughter. And I think they had a dedication Saturday. And I mean, I reckon it was a great turnout on that. But they also got grants. And they came in just a little over 30-some thousand for that. So, I've been trying to find out what kind of grants and what company, but it sounds like, so Dougspur, I haven't been able to find out on that one, so it sounds like Ladina's already getting on that one, but, I just thought that, that just seems like a lot for playground equipment. I'm sorry, but, I was looking on Google and I did see one big swing set there that is probably as wrong as this room, but it was like $100,000. We don't need something like that, And I had a guy that's been listening in that asked me this weekend if I'd been to the rec park. And I said, no. I said, I haven't had a chance to get down there. And he said he went down there and walked that equipment. And he said he didn't see where it was in that bad a shape. I don't know. You know, some says it is, some says it ain't, so I don't know, you know. But I just think we can beat that price somehow or another. You know, of course, I don't want to jeopardize child's safety either, you know, by road grade stuff. You know, I want good stuff, but I don't want to have to pay county prices for it. Because lots of times people do jack the price when it's a county budget or something.
If you all decide that's something you want us to pursue and give us a ballpark, then we can go back and say, well, if we're willing to spend this much, what's available, and then you guys can go from there.
I think we need to research that some.
I think the grant side of it would have a big part to play in that
Oh,
too.
grant matching,
Yeah.
yeah.
If
So-
it- if it was.
Chair,
Go ahead.
Chairman, so it's funny you should say that because that was part of my comments. You know, one of the things when this county's department became from the rec authority to a county department, one of the things that was discussed, and I think you remember, Chairman, is that we talked about grants, that we talked about now we had a full-time person that could start to look at grants to develop for a small county like ours with the need for recreation, finding those kinds of things. It seems to me, although we have been informed about things on a regular basis, and for that I am grateful, it seems to me that there are steps that could have been taken now that and I know we had a pandemic, but you know, golly day, that would have been a good time to really focus on stuff like this. Now, hindsight being 2020, I just think that there are areas that we have not explored within our county's rec department, that there are a lot of grants out there for recreation, especially coming out of the pandemic, that we should be, really pursuing. And I feel that playground equipment, fields, I know our fields are in very good shape as to what they had been, and that was a much needed upgrade, but there are unexplored opportunities within recreation. And again, I want to see them. One other item, when you turn the microphone back between Dr. Millsaps and Kim, make sure, Dr. Millsaps, you've been coming in clear. Kim, make sure you get that mic in front of you because I want to make sure I hear everything you have to say. Do we have any kind of dollar amount yet?
$49,195 for 2 employees. One employee is approximately 23 and change, and the other one is 25 and change. And the one that is 25 and change is the one that had longevity, the one that's been here a couple of years.
Right.
None of
the
which,
office-
and
the
the-
office-
sorry.
The office help.
Correct.
And these are 30 hours a week?
It varies,
Yeah.
depending on, if I might, Mr. Chair, the hours vary depending, as I was saying, on when the help is needed in the office, which that actually, I was surprised, Mr. Booth, I thought like you, it was mostly in the summer, but it's actually more on the seasons we have indoor sports that
As
require
far as,
that.
yes, as far as
Extra
the
office.
office help.
Yes. And
I
then-
was talking about
Yes.
the other.
Yes, and the other is, mostly in the summer, and in fact, we went a couple months this winter without anybody there, just because it's snowing.
Yeah.
Hey, so to follow up, this is what they're increasing to, 25 and 23?
Kim said,
I was just revisiting. I believe one of them had a small increase of request, departmental request, and the other one is not.
So the main bulk of the increase in the salary for recreation is with the salary increase for the major employee, the
Yes,
director.
yes.
And so we're going up $30,000, 29,000.
His salary's not going up $29,000.
I understand the salary is going up 29,000, but our request, what we approved last year was $70,890. Correct?
Correct.
That was with the director and one part-time.
2 part-times.
No, last year's was one part-time, wasn't
No.
There was no,
Oh, there were 2 part-times.
it? Hold on.
there wasn't two last year. Let me
Right.
revisit.
Well, but then there was apparently action later.
And also, there was, we actually, I believe, from what I understand and what I read in past, I think they were using individuals consistently with mowing concession, all that kind of stuff, which warranted just a part-time position. And that came in later.
So even if, so your county's administrator recommendation was to increase that department by
29, 27, 28.
So, yeah, that was 28 inch, it looks like Kim was saying, she pulled up 28 and change.
$28,305 is what we're increasing over last year, that line item 439. And I know we tread on areas where we really can't speak too much because I don't want to get into personnel in an open session, really. That's not my style at all. But how do we end up then adding, $1,300?
Last year's budget did not include a third or a second part-time person. You were
Right,
accurate.
so last year's was the director and one part-time.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So he must have been using interns last year when he had people out there. Is that correct?
No, it's that, he had the same office help last year that he has this year.
Yeah, but he had people out on the fields doing work, so I guess those were interns?
No.
Volunteers or?
He had a guy that was helping him. I know he did.
Yeah, he did. But so he's still under budget for his current year. He's still under budget by about $18,000.
And he also carried over 16,000 from budget to budget 2 years in a row. And he's on that same trend this year.
He carried
Well-
over 16,000?
That is correct.
Yeah, last year and this year.
Which was
though,
some of the
that
justification of the
Right.
additional.
Being in the pandemic is the reason that we had carryover. But that was also why he was able to do some of the projects that he did last year, that he could do it within the existing budget just because the
Some cost
pandemic
savings
and
elsewhere.
the low numbers or lower cost.
Okay, I think we could add.
So there's a field maintenance employee now in the rec department,
Part-time.
part-time? Is this a position that we can explore to expanding full-time to cover maintenance in other county properties? Is this landscaping, mowing,
In
maintenance?
other words, redesignate it out of that department
Full-time, make them a
into
full-time into
county
a county.
full-time.
Uh-huh.
We can certainly explore that and then maybe have him.
Right, right.
Mark and I have talked at different times about maybe having that position report in more to facilities
Right.
Well, I will say this. If we do take on our own mowing and that sort of stuff, we have to have a facility. They cannot leave gas in the closet in the courthouse anymore.
No.
Now, Jerry,
I'm just
you're
telling you.
taking all the fun out of it.
I'm telling you, I've been down this road
Yeah, I have too.
and with gas and oil being in a closet in the courthouse,
Oh my goodness. Next to the
Don't,
boiler.
don't
various,
specify
The
various,
boiler.
various tools being in that closet. If they could've got a push mower in there, they would have, but,
Right.
I'm just saying, I'm not opposed to it, I'm just, a little history. We have to have a place that,
But if they're keeping a mower up at the rec department, maybe,
Well,
yeah, some
part
interesting
of that
options.
was where you drove in. Now, but it's gonna have to have firewall, I mean, you make part of that building a place to park a lawnmower and have,
It is. That is part of the
and that's
design
part
that
of
we
it.
built.
So that's good there. But I'm just saying, like the courthouse or this building mowing,
And
Either
then it'll
go-
go up to the shed.
you're gonna have to transport from there here rather than just keeping certain stuff on site.
Yeah, I would assume, Mr. Booth, if I might, Ms. Chair, that it would either, the equipment would either be out at the field in the part of the building that, yeah, has been designed to have that there, or up in the maintenance building.
At the landfill.
No, right here, up the hill.
Well, is that maintenance area, is it fixed, fire rated fixed from the rest of the building?
Well,
Don't
we
answer
keep-
that.
I was
Don't
saying, we
answer
keep stuff
that.
in there now, so.
Don't answer that.
Yeah,
I think
But you understand where I
I
was
do, I do.
saying.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mr. Cox had a,
So the part-time, what would be the salary on that then?
23,000.
And that does not-
Wait, it's hourly.
It's two part-time.
It's two, right now, last year's budget, we confirmed it was just one part-time, right?
Correct.
But they used carryover also.
So this proposal now is for two part-time. Correct.
It's to expand the hours of the ones that are there. Yes. So we already have a director and then two part-time people, one that does grounds and one
So the
that
people
helps
are
with-
already there.
They're
Yes.
already there.
This is just to expand their hours.
Yes, but not to full-time. Say, I don't know.
But that
exactly
number-
20 to 30 is
Increasing their hours, but what is that, what's that number equivalent?
49,195,
roughly.
So
What was
40
it?
So let's just say 50,000.
49,195,
That gets them more hours,
two employees, correct.
and it's gonna be an additional, or it's gonna be 49,000 that we're not currently paying.
Right.
Right.
It's an additional 49,000,
For this year's request.
or is that,
No, the additional, the difference, so if I'm understanding correctly, the difference in his payroll budget is 23,395.
All right, so
From this year's
23,000.
budget to last year's
but that
budget.
includes his increase too.
That is correct.
So how,
So it's his increase, the part-time that was added prior,
right.
but after the budget.
Do you know the dollar amount for just the increase in part-time
To give them more hours, what would that dollar figure be?
for them?
Thank you, Levi.
I think that's what you.
That's where I'm trying to go.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to get.
Easier in closed session.
Well,
it's just
it
one
almost would, but
Yeah, we almost are veering on that.
I know, and then we don't have to try to dance around,
we
just speak, yeah.
All right,
right now we're,
Mr. Chairman, again, I want to emphasize the idea of grants for this department, absolutely, 100%. I know there's a lot of meetings, and I know there's a lot of other things, but there's a lot of time that can be spent looking at this stuff, really looking at this stuff, especially now. And I just want to make sure that, that you, Dr. Millsaps, has heard me loud and clear about that. I just think this is an underutilized part of that position. I
Okay.
really, really do.
Okay, Dr. Millsap?
Well, and just to clarify a little bit, so Jacob and I talked as recently as this morning again about, he's signing up for a grant writing class, but there are 2 grants, in use up there already. That outdoor classroom grant is being used at the rec park. And then we ended up moving the Bearwise investment to there, because they can only give us a smaller amount. So that will be used to replace a bunch of the trash receptacles up there, and then I'll do some signage in town and those kind of things. But just to let you know, so we've kind of been looking that direction already.
There are foundations that are out there for recreation, not just the partnership for Floyd's, grant. Those are great, don't get me wrong, and the Bearwise are great. I'm not knocking those 2 grants. But I mean, there are initiatives out there to help with smaller communities, and I just think we have not explored that enough. So I'm really glad that as early as this morning you had that discussion. So thank you.
So was you ready to answer him, or did you get an answer on the final number?
I'm trying to find that.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
waiting on that.
Once she gets that number, I called this thing to try to get Missy off the hook, okay? So we need to get on a ready, I'm gonna let you finish up here in a second. And, because we need probably to have a meeting again pretty soon, just to go over the budget and, take care of this. Go ahead, Jerry.
I just have one question, Dr. Millsaps.
Yes, sir.
Do you know the number, roughly the number of hours that those people are putting in on average? Because I know there's a limit as to what they can have in hours, or they're considered full-time employees. We would not be approaching that number, would we? I want to say 32. It used to be 29, but for some reason I want to say it's 32 now, but I can't. For a part-time person can work up a maximum of like 32 hours.
29.
Is it still 29? Okay.
Cap on the total.
29, correct. So it's 29 hours a week, so for,
Right,
that would be approximately 1,620
right.
hours.
So
And they can
that's,
go over a little bit, but not on a consistent basis.
right.
You can't schedule them over.
Basically average of 29 per se.
I need to clarify that one part-time that's 23,000 encumbers also when the concession during that special time with Drema, so that's my apology. So it's really 2 people in one descriptive bucket that are in that, so, yeah. Part of that one funding of the 23,000 is the maintenance, which, we can explore that additional thing, but not as often, because I was trying to justify that salary for that position, but it also is that part of that money is budgeted for, especially during summer sports with concession and things of that nature, comes out of those fundings.
Right. Well, we just need to emphasize with the director to be sure and keep up with those hours and not.
Oh, we've.
You already had that?
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're good.
Well,
These 2 are good.
well, that's good. I like asking questions. This is already took care of myself. Makes my job easier. That's all I had on that, Mr. Chairman.
I was just gonna say, circling back around to Mr. Chairman's point on that, was like, I feel like we could sit here and we could dig through this thing and maybe slash and cut a few more things, a couple thousand here, a couple thousand there, but at the end of the day, at the big picture, when we're a couple 100,000 away, slashing something by 5,000 today ain't gonna help us get there any quicker. But I sat this weekend and really thought about that whole thing, which was a big decision for me, and really looking back, of course, it's my first budget, but thinking about my whole entire life, this is probably the biggest decision I've ever made that affects a lot of people. So I try to really sit back and think sort of three parts into that. You know, 1/3 my morals and ethics associated with the decision to raise the taxes. The citizen's perspective of who I was affecting. And then at the end of the day, this is a business, a county business. And if we don't have enough money coming in to justify what's going out, I mean, it's a hard decision, but I want to go back to Mr. Chairman's point that the only way this week, to me, it seems like we're going to overcome this is the 2-cent real estate tax increase. Then maybe we can make some adjustments further into the budget. But I would agree with Mr. Chairman that I would like to see if we can continue to cut and save money, that money does go back into that stabilization fund, like a savings account for the future, because I don't think the next couple of years is going to get any easier. I think it's only going to get tougher. But I would like, and nobody wants a tax increase. I understand. I don't want a tax increase. But I think the real estate tax increase at the end of the day is going to be an easier obstacle than what people's getting ready to see on that personal property tax. You know, we're looking at anywhere from $30 annually to $100 annually on a real estate tax increase if your property is valued at $150,000 to $450,000. So paying it twice a year, like I put in that email, you're looking at people's going to look at $15 to $60 probably adjustment. But if we have to raise the real estate by 2 cents, I would like, of course, for the budget stabilization, but I would like to maybe see if we could have a discussion about personal property on some type of relief only for this year, but just to help ease that burden. But I don't think the next couple of years is going to be any easier. You know, the NADA values, all that stuff's going to keep going up. It's just what it is. Thanks for letting me, that's all I wanted to say.
You had something?
I agree on the personal property tax to an extent. I think it needs to not be just for 1 year. I think we need to not put any caveats on a limit, because that is an extreme amount of increase on tax burden for a gain you haven't realized. It's unreal. You're taxing on unrealized gains. It's not, you haven't sold your vehicle, so it's truly unrealized gains in value, and that's not okay. So, but I know we need to spend some time on this personal property tax also.
And I want to keep hammering the idea, a lot of people out here is under the misconception that we did that. And it was not us that did that. It's NADA that raised the personal property values. And we set the rate a year ago. You know, it's just come back to bite us, really, is the only way you look at it. But NADA is the one that shot the vehicle prices up. I mean, it killed me. You know, when I finally got something worth driving, you know, it's costing me to keep it, you know. And go ahead, Jerry.
When do we need to set that personal property tax?
Mr.
The rate will be set at the same time we adopt the budget and the tax rates, you know, as far as the
Or the
rate.
relief?
Well, if we do a relief, I think that would be, if my understanding, that would be in like a separate public hearing or whatever, and.
Even though it's a decrease.
Well,
It's an increase in relief with the decrease in tax bill.
yeah, but under the relief scenario, you would be relieving a portion of the payment, but you wouldn't necessarily be changing the tax rate
Correct.
itself.
Correct.
I think you may have to check with Steve I think under
Let me
that,
check and be sure.
I
But
think
it
under-
doesn't, that doesn't have to be today.
Okay,
Right.
I just want to make sure we
Right.
get it in so we don't have another anxious
yeah.
person across the
But-
street.
But we also have to meet a deadline for those tickets to
Right.
go out too.
Right.
Yes.
That's where we need to get Lisa on board when we start talking about personal
And
property.
Missy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, we can't really do anything on that, can we? Because we've got those revenues added in to this budget.
Well, we wouldn't, if I may,
Go ahead.
Well,
I
hold on,
think-
Jerry, wait a minute, Jerry, let me finish the
Oh, I
thought.
thought-
So we've got these revenues in, if we give a relief, then whatever savings we're talking about would have to go to the relief. I mean, am I off the money there, or, no pun
no,
intended?
your relief would not take your overall money below what you've got estimated for revenue in the budget. You would only be relieving anything above that number, if I understood the process correctly. In other words,
But,
see, the number in there, and that's predicated, that idea is predicated on them going up in values again this year. Now, if they don't go up in values again this year, say they leave it at where it's at, then you won't have as, it'll be the same as it was this past December. But if they go up in values, then that would push it, and the number we have in our budget, like, you know, we always underestimate revenues.
right,
So we wouldn't get into that. It would be under what our, anything over what our actual is for the budget.
Can I try to explain it?
Yeah, go ahead, you'll do better than I would.
I was very concerned about that too, Linda, that giving a larger tax, 65% relief would lower that income, and it actually doesn't. What it'll do, going from a 35% relief to a 65% relief will keep that tax revenue the same, if not up a little bit more, with the 65% relief. So we are not going to decrease that line of tax revenue. What we won't do is increase it by $1 million over projection.
well, I wasn't for the actual 320 anyway to begin with, so, I mean, I'm just gonna mention
Right.
that
So,
again.
yeah, giving that 65% tax relief will
I
keep
thought
the,
going up that much was, I mean, I didn't know now.
Right.
Do it.
but the increasing the tax relief to 65% would keep people's personal property tax bills just about the same as last year. So that would keep or we would keep it as our projected revenue.
But when we get into it, it could be 55%.
It's actually 70.
Well, but I'm saying,
Calculations, yeah.
right, but then again, you also have that additional impact, do they raise those again this year?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if that's, yeah, all right.
Okay,
I was gonna say, I didn't mean to start a whole new discussion on that personal property,
Well, no,
but,
but it's,
but
it needs.
I would like to talk about it as we move forward on that, but when I said the one-time relief on that, I just wanted to make the explanation of why I said one-time relief. The reason I say one-time relief is just because I don't know what the next couple of
Right.
years looks like.
Right.
You know, it's no different than if I go down to the store to buy some chicken or cattle feed, and if the guy promised me, the storekeeper promised me he would never raise the price
Right.
on that feed, and he stuck by his promise, somewhere down the line, he's getting ready to go down in the hole big time. So that's why I say one time
Right.
this year, and then we'll look at it further down the road. But I have a hard time thinking that you can ever commit to always saying you would never raise this or change this or do this, because you don't know what economics of the society holds.
I just don't want it to be like some surrounding counties where they're relieving this year, but carrying that over to next year. I don't want to.
yeah, that's what I was getting at a while ago, you know, that we gotta be careful because what we're doing this year may really drastically affect what we're doing next year. And it may hurt the citizens worse next year than it is
We're not
this year.
careful.
Yeah, because, you know, we could do that this year, then next year we may have to put it back in and raise it,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
which they would take a bigger hit that way, so. I think we should look at it, definitely. I'm not opposed to looking at it.
Good, we won't reduce our bottom line on tax revenue. which
Right,
is-
on the tax revenue, as long as we don't go too far,
Right.
it'll leave our budgeted revenue in that line item the same or close. I didn't want to raise taxes this year, like I don't think any of us talked about doing it. But there's only two places I see we can really cut if we're not gonna raise taxes. That's the school system and the sheriff's request, and I'm not prepared to cut either one. I think it'll do more damage than good. I've talked to several people in my district, explained the situation, just like I did when we did the reassessment, and then instead of equalizing, we raised it because we had certain costs at the time associated with the school construction and buying ambulances and garbage trucks and that sort of stuff, and some stuff for the sheriff's office. And as long as it's going, majority of it's going for infrastructure needs, they said they didn't, and they were, I'm talking from the low end of the scale to the high end of the scale. I don't want to, but I can go along with the 2 cents. But anything we change around does go in stabilization fund.
When I first talked to Dr. Millsap and Kim about this budget, I mean, I think he'll verify what I said. I said I want a flat rate or level funded budget. I don't want no mention of a tax increase. And we couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. I mean, it's about as level as you're gonna get it. You know, and I said this more than one time since we started this progress or process. I don't want to raise taxes, but I think we're in a situation where we don't have a choice.
Well, if you look at it, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And just, you know, so the record's clear, Mr. Chairman, you can explain it to everybody, but the reason we're in the condition we're in mostly is because of the state not being able to decide on what they're
Absolutely.
doing. And the proposed pay increases and benefit structure, and that's what's raised our budget. But, I mean, that's where the majority of a lot of our extra cost stuff came in.
I've got a meeting tonight. Hope y'all two show up, but there'll be 2 state representatives there.
I'm not invited.
And believe me, they're going to hear about it, you know. We need to let them know, hey, y'all need to get up there and shake some cages. You know, because you're killing us. I mean, it's not their fault, I know that.
Right.
But, you know, they just gotta keep beating it, you know. You know, what was it?
Oh, go ahead.
No, you made the statement, or somebody made the statement the other day that they were saying now that they weren't gonna approve that budget or the other side until the very last minute. Yeah,
And that's what I'm hearing too, that they're gonna hold tight till the last minute, so they may approve it the last day of the month at 4 o'clock, and we have to do it that night at 7 o'clock. One thing I wanted to say, there is some big expense projects in here. You've got the radio system, some of that stuff, but, and I don't classify those things as wants.
no.
In
Especially
fact,
that radio.
a lot of them are long past due. I know y'all have heard it before, but part of the equipment that we're replacing, I helped buy in 1993 and 94, which I would have thought would have been replaced long before now, but Ford's before us, they couldn't at the time. And I just don't see I don't see it. I'm not gonna say there's no waste in the budget, because everybody knows there's a little. I don't care who you are. And every department's probably got a little bit of contingency in it. But I would rather have that than I had them to come back constantly. Well, we need more money. I'd rather have a realistic budget than I have something just to meet. Because at that point, if we haven't raised taxes and we've got everything cut back, at that point, it's coming out of fund balance. And in reality, our fund balance is not exactly where it should be. It's okay. And it's way better than you and I have seen it in the past.
You're right.
But it's still short of where it should be. And by quite a little bit. But, it's like you said, having that stabilization fund, if we do have to go borrow money or what, it sure does help to have that money in that additional fund. So.
And we still got some antiquated stuff out here that eventually gonna break. What else?
Yeah. Well, see, that's another thing
Yeah.
that we haven't allowed for in this budget is any potential drafting or design of another structure. So, and I know you've heard me say it before and others have too, but I think in either this year or next year, I think it's coming sooner than they want. I think sometime in this next budget, we're gonna have to realistically sit down with some architectural firm or something. Once we figure out exactly what we need and actually potentially get some pricing and be moving in that direction. Now, I know you want to
Well-
wait till you was off the board, but I don't think we're gonna make it.
Way these budgets are, maybe quicker than I think.
Well, it's just the
Yeah.
space. I mean, I had one fellow ask me, well, why y'all spending all that money at the rec park? And I explained to him what was going on downstairs. I said, he leads to B and C. He said, well, I understand that. And for right now, that's better than building the whole building, but that's just a Band-Aid.
Well,
And we need more space. We need more space up here.
some of the ones that's coming up, and I can count on one hand, the ones that, two of them's done blasted me, and there's three more in the waiting, I'm sure is gonna let me know what's going on, but they're the ones that don't know what the heck they're talking about. I wish that they would sit up here one time or sit behind us and watch us one time try to hammer these budgets out, and they may not be so quick to condemn us. A guy told me last night, well, spend all that money, but you don't know where it's going. I beg your pardon, I do know where it's going to. And I laid out a list of where the money goes, and then he started backpedaling because he seen he done stepped on a nerve. But I think he just felt good because he was able to blast me and, a lot of people, that's all it is. They sit there and listen, but they don't know what they're listening to. I mean, it's confusing to me even now, 11 years later. This budget confuses me sometimes.
16 years, it don't get any better.
I even try to compare it, my little farm budget about like this, but still, I'm a poor boy, and, like I said about these big farmers out here, I really feel sorry for them. I really do. Because I know how it's hitting me with no more than I got. I mean, the taxes, the fuel, increase in feed,
Fertilizer.
yeah, everything. And I mean, I put in the bare minimum of fertilizer this time. And I know some,
I didn't
you didn't put any.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or buy a replacement part on your tractor or vehicle or
Absolutely.
equipment. I mean,
I bought a set of tires for the front end of my 3930 this last week. I usually get about 3-4 years out of a set of them. The Ashtons I bought was $72 a piece. Them the other day was $125 a piece. The ones on the back of my ML or TL80 cost me $1,500 and some dollars. They was $750 a piece. You know, and I'd hate to think what that tire's gonna cost me now. Yeah. So, you know, and I mean, like I say, I'm a little guy, and you get these people that make their bread and butter, let's say Ryan Baker, for instance. I mean, I know it's killing him because he's worked all his young life to get where he's at. And I mean, he's having to fight to keep, hang on to it. And so I got that in mind when I'm trying to do this budget, but right now I think we're in a position where we don't really have a choice. We just have to take the hit, you know.
I think the department's heads have done a good
Amazing.
job of trying to
Amazing.
trim back as far as they can.
Well, and going back to the school budget, you know, like I said, I'm not going to go back and rehash history, but we got a superintendent that really worked for us with this building. And he stood here the other day and he said that he had moved money around to get to where he was at. And if the state hadn't cut him $100,000, he wouldn't need this $105,000 because he has no place to absorb it right now. And, you know, that's the reason I have a hard time, you know, doing anything school budget. Contrary to the comment I heard made from that podium the other night, we turn out some good kids. We really do. There's a lot of parents upset over what come out of that podium the other
I
night.
heard some of that too.
Oh, yeah.
Jordan, if we've turned out good students. Is there room for improvement? Yes, of course there is. But
And
And I
we're
haven't-
working to turn out better.
I haven't done it as much this year or last year, but during the times on the board, I've been at different functions for deans of the colleges and professors. And without hesitation, they've always said that the students from Floyd, they loved having students from Floyd because they were as prepared, if not more so, than other students from other schools in the New River Valley.
And the higher work ethics.
And the first time I heard it, I thought, okay, they're blowing smoke. But I heard it consistently.
Mhm.
And the students are as prepared as any in the New River Valley. And I think with this, there's been a little squabble raised about the addition to the vocational building. I think that's going to be a benefit not only to college-bound students, but it's going to be a major benefit to the non-college bound in the training they're going to receive in the areas they choose.
Some of these students that fell through the cracks in the past won't be falling through the cracks now.
Right.
Because they'll be coming out there with technology training that they hadn't had before. Like I said, when I was in school, it was agriculture. It's a lot different now. So when they come out of there, they're going to have computers, nursing, building trades, welding,
Well,
everything.
I think there's potentials there for them to come out of there with equal to, or almost equal to, the same amount of training they get at the first year at a community college.
2-year college, yeah.
That already have it under their belt. When I graduated, I had fellow classmates that went to New River and took classes, and they jumped 1 or 2 semesters. But I think by the time they get done there, you may have it where they already qualify for almost a full year.
I had a former employer of mine told me one time, he said when he looks at applications and he sees Floyd County on it, he said that one jumps up to the top. He said just not only for the education, but for the work ethic and the type of people that we turn out of this county. So,
Oh, yeah. I've heard plant managers say, especially in the wintertime, they'll get a call from somebody that lives a mile from the plant over there. I can't get to work today, and about that time, it'll be 3 from Floyd walk through the door, you know?
And you know this yourself, being former law enforcement, and you have to be in law enforcement to really understand it. Sometimes you get to thinking, man, what the heck's wrong with our kids, you know? But then we figure out it's just a handful of them.
Right. Yeah.
We got a school full of great kids, you know? You always got a few that wants to push your buttons.
Yeah.
You know, and some of them's good at it.
If you don't mind. Yeah, I was going to say, if you didn't mind, I'd like to hear Linda.
Oh, Linda, I'm sorry, I forgot about you.
On the tax levy.
No, I could say something now, but I think I might say it before I vote, whatever you want in the discussion part.
Well,
Just
we're
go
not
ahead and get
actually
it out of the
voting
way.
today, we're just getting a consensus, aren't we?
Okay, then I'll read what I'll.
That we don't back off of.
Okay, gotcha.
Well,
Well,
we need a decision of some type.
Right,
That
a
could
commitment.
be-
Yes, but I say by consensus that we can't back off of.
Yeah, because we gotta let
You
poor
already
Missy
have
off the hook.
consensus. We got 3 of you, right? All right, so let me say what I want to say, Mr. Chairman, if that's okay. Thank you
Go
for
ahead,
letting me do so.
go
All
ahead.
right, so there is no doubt at this time we are finding ourselves where everything is costing more, and Floyd County is not immune to this. I'm very well aware, as a county elected official, we must pass a balanced budget. We all are. It is our responsibility to provide what our citizens need, but at the same time, balance how the county grows and what we spend our money on. Through my adult life and what I have passed on to my children has been to always be able to pay for what you want and need. We were and still are a very frugal family. I do come to my role as county supervisor with this tenet in mind, but realize there are many things a county does indeed need. I know our region and this community of students needed a new career and technical center. I did not think we needed to spend $14 million on it and felt we could build what we needed for $10 million. I voted no on that project because it was important to vote my conscience, and now know that the extra $4 million perhaps could have been used on a new radio system. We as supervisors need to make the tough calls. There are a number of things Floyd County will need to do in the next 3 to 5 years. Former Supervisor Lauren Yoder and I, for years, have wanted this board to very seriously look at a capital improvement plan, develop a roadmap along with county departments to adequately plan for the future. Had we done so in 2016 or 2017, we might not have spent as much money on certain things. We need to look to the future. We need to plan. We need to really assess what we spend our money on and what we will need to spend it on in the future. I will not forsake the education of our children, the health of our citizens, or their safety for quick fixes. Floyd is a diverse community. Many good folks have moved here in the last 15 years. Many moved here a generation ago, and many have family roots that go back over 200 years. We have a responsibility to fiscally manage our county and make tough decisions about the monies we raise and spend for the betterment of this fine place we live in, Floyd County. With all of that said, I am not able at this time to look at 2-cent raise, but I'm in a descending, agreement. I do believe you have a consensus, and we'll work with this board to continue to make those tough choices. Thank you.
What else? In my opinion, that's all this board's ever done was look to see how we can grow responsibly. We always have, my crystal ball ain't big enough to see what this county's gonna need next year, year after next, or 5 years from now. Some of the things we're doing now, I would have never thought we'd need now, you know. And, you know, as far as that new building up there, you know, that sucker started out, what, $27 million?
I agree, yeah, I agree, Mr. Chairman, I know it did. And we fought and worked and tirelessly made it come down. But again, you know, I think we could have, I mean,
We wouldn't-
water under the bridge now, I just wanted it to be recognized. And I think a comprehensive improvement plan, you know, a capital improvement plan that looks ahead is a well-warranted endeavor.
We'd have cut another $4 million off that building up there, we wouldn't have had nothing but a welding class and home economics.
No, we might not have a beautiful skylight, and we might not have a couple of things. We can differ all we want. I think we would have had all of those things. I really do.
Hey, I just have a question. If, for those that's not a consensus for the 2-cent increase, what items would have to be cut then too?
Do you want me to go through it? I mean, I don't have
I
my.
mean, just briefly.
I don't have my full list, but it would be, let's see, let's get that to, it would be the 2 roll-offs. It would be, you know, in recycling, it would be the 2 roll-offs. It would be, looking at the transfer station floor repair. I know that's a carryover. Is this something that we can do, you know, if it was carried over from last year, can it be carried over to next year, especially with the cost of concrete having doubled? The refuse containers for $38,000. I mean, I believe that there are some items that we can really cut. And none of it's gonna be easy, but we can't, I feel very firmly that we need to look at reducing expenses where we can in order to help the people who have to go buy groceries and buy fuel and have to choose between fuel and food, you know.
We doing that.
I know, but I'm just saying, it's gonna be painful. People are gonna, in order to keep those low-income families who are really struggling, in order to let them get their food, somebody else might have a reduction in hours. Some full-time people might have to go to part-time. Some part-time people might need to be, I mean,
But wouldn't that not be decreasing their
but
way of living too?
when the average household income in Floyd County is $50,000 for a household, if, you know, there's some hard things that need to be looked at. I know,
Or what I'm saying is if you take, say on average $15 to $60 for
Right.
the real estate increase,
right,
and you have to capture that from all the citizens, but then you have to cut someone's hours by several $1,000s, are you not more impacting
one
that
family.
person
You're impacting one family.
instead of $15 to
So-
$60?
But
So
you,
you wanna
no,
cut the county on the backs of somebody that actually may need more money than,
no, I'm saying we
Yeah.
can't, we can't continue to raise taxes. There,
I've heard that for the last 11 years. I've heard the same argument every
Yeah.
year for the last 11 years. We're throwing granny in the street, we're
Right.
robbing people of medicine. That's always came up. I remember when the household income was a lot less than what it is now, and I heard the same argument. But you have to, you know, when you grow, you gotta pay for your growth.
right, but when you shrink, you also need to,
And then next
Contract.
year, what we shrink is gonna double hit them.
but you can't, you know, when you have a school with under 150 students, I think, even though that's not our thing, our line, how many employees are at that school for 150 students?
Well,
That's a lot.
Same number that there would be for 170,
Or 200.
because I'm sorry, I didn't
Right,
mean
no,
to
no,
interrupt
it's
you.
just an open discussion.
No, but
I think.
because if the student population drop was all in the fifth grade, for instance, then you could switch around and reduce fifth grade teachers.
But are they doing it?
Well, the problem is, it's not all in one grade.
But when you have 7 students in one grade, why aren't you doing, why are not combination classes happening?
I mean, that's
Right,
a
and
question for the school board.
But that's what I'm
Right.
saying, these,
Yes,
they're.
Well, that's why I was just asking,
Right.
if those who are not in favor of the 2-cent increase, what you would be cutting on on the backs of whom would you be cutting to capture that difference, is what my question was.
Across the board, it's that penny plan, you reduce 1% every year, because you can find that 1%, because it's there. It might be change in temperatures in buildings, there's a lot of ways to save.
I mean, for this year.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, there's no way that you're gonna make everybody happy, but I know that if we don't start.
Even on your household budget, you could not cut it a penny every year and maintain your household.
I've gone
And
from,
the same way from,
no, you have to change how you live. Because when I reduce my
I've worked my
personal,
butt off to change how I
Right.
live, and I want to make it better for my kids and my grandkids. And I am not going to jeopardize them and put them back to where I work to get away from. It's just, I can't follow the logic, I really can't.
it's
But,
government. I know
yes.
there's ways.
Yeah.
My heart tells me there's 1% in this budget. So, I mean, I'm in 99% agreement with,
Go ahead, Linda.
with Linda. There's just a few points that we don't agree with entirely, but I'm right there with her. Long-term, not looking long-term has really turned on us with in a lot of expenses, not looking long-term.
Was you saying something, Linda?
No, not yet. I was letting everybody finish. For me, I just don't know. I don't know about our raises this year. I know our county employees work hard, but we have been extremely generous over the last 3 to 5 years. And I just don't know if we can afford to do that this year, or at least not match the state. Again, state 5% increase on state employees across the board is, again, like an unfunded mandate, basically. Then we have to find the money. It's just really tough. And Supervisor Cox, if we look ahead with a capital improvement plan, I'm going to be the first one to say it's probably going to hurt even more. But at least the citizens will see the things that have to be done. There is no doubt that CTE building was a needed. I mean, it's going to help in so many ways. I may eat my words, but, I certainly don't want the emphasis on career and technical education to replace all of the other students that are coming out of Floyd County that unfortunately do move away. Some come back, some find themselves in other areas within our New River Valley after getting an amazing education at New River Community College and going on to a 4-year school, or matriculating out of high school into a 4-year college. But right now, as tight as we can get our budget, and as, again, I just don't, I mean, we can talk about individual areas that I would cut, but I think raises, I don't see the part-time going to full-time at the animal control. I mean, there's a couple of other areas that I would, but we're not here to discuss that right now. You know, we're here as members of a board of supervisors that sometimes don't always reach a 5-0 consensus, and that's just what it is. You need 3 to move something on. I mean, we could sit here and go round and around and around on it, but at the end of the day, for the long-term goals of this county, we need a map. That's all I have to say.
But that ain't helping us right now. Not that I don't agree with you, Linda, but right now, it's not answering our question of what we're going to do.
I think you got 3 to go with 2, and 3 that won't back out.
All right, so may I say that it appears we have a consensus among a majority, not the entirety of the board, to move forward with a 65-cent real estate tax rate. All right, okay. I want to make sure I say that exactly correctly. And I'm sure she's listening in, but we'll let Missy know officially that is the answer for real estate tax. And other discussions will continue on other topics. Is that fair to say? Okay.
I reckon, I've been in this county ever since I took my first breath. And I've seen where the counties came from. And I've listened to the same arguments year after year after year. But how you gonna increase the poverty rate if our household income's this? But we can't work to give people raises. The only way you're gonna get raises is through tax increases.
But the people in the poverty aren't working these jobs.
Yeah, but that ain't our fault. You know,
But I'm saying
that's-
tax,
That's
you're
nationwide.
putting two things together that aren't tied. You can't give raises and
Yeah.
affect those people.
Well, let's just say that when I did law enforcement, not in Floyd, different
Right.
jurisdiction, my family of 4, we qualified for all the state benefits.
We
And I was a hard worker.
We qualified, but we never would take it. You know, we just kept.
So what I'm saying is without those raises, my family was still eligible for all the benefits.
How many of our
And-
county
yeah.
employees live in Floyd County?
And you know, you come from a different area of the nation and so did Linda, and I mean, no disrespect to y'all when I say that. But we got a different culture, we got a different mindset, we got different needs. We've worked all our entire life, every citizen in this county, to get ahead.
Actually, I
Yeah.
come from rural agricultural California, Bible Belt, hardworking.
Well,
Dirt
I
poor.
understand
I'm not from
that
Los
too.
Angeles, but
But,
you were taxed to pay for those
um,
high.
Yeah, and y'all's taxes out there is going up and up and up again, but I don't know, I just can't articulate what's in my brain. What's in my brain won't come out of my mouth lots of times. But, you know, when I started in law enforcement back in 77, I started off $7,000 a year. By the time I retired, I had finally got up to 42,000 because I had to take civil process on top of whatever else I was doing to get a $3,000 pay increase. All right, now they're starting out about that. Look how many years it took to get it there. You know, and it took tax increases statewide to get it there.
Well,
That's what I was saying, I was qualifying for those benefits from the state, and I didn't even work in this county. I went to another department where I was making more money. So if I would have been here, I'd made less money. So, you know, without not trying to give raises to folks is,
It's not a question.
yeah, again, I'll say like I've always said it, when somebody told me one time, if you don't treat your people like a checking account and put money into them, how can you expect to get anything out of them?
Right.
So
Well, that's a good.
I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
I'm reminded, I heard a supervisor sitting in the courthouse one night, and he put it in this perspective, and it's true. If you rob Peter to pay Paul, Paul will be your buddy for life. And that's what he brought to the little levity. I'm just not prepared to balance the budget on the backs of the people carrying the load. That's my perspective. I'm not trying to push it off on anybody else. We come in twice a month. Now granted, we've done it more. From January to June, we do it more. But basically, we come in twice a month, set policy, make decisions, and the workers of this county, our employees are the ones that operate this county. And I've never been a big fan of balancing the budget on their backs. We worked through that. We finally got a pay plan that we found out has some problems. But we withheld getting them where they should have been because the pandemic hit. We didn't know what the revenues. Had I known then what I know now, I would have pushed to have done the double then and had them online where they were supposed to be. You know, this pay increase this time, while it's a lot, is getting them in line with where we said we wanted them to be on the scales. And after this budget, I think we have to look at that pay scale and maybe make some hard decisions again as to whether we want to continue with it or if we want to go in a totally different way. Because it's not exactly doing what the intent of the scale was to bring the lower ones up.
Right. I think, can I just say?
No, go ahead.
There's a lot of talk right now about salaries and balancing the budget, and I want to make sure that I'm not trying to cut people's salaries. I don't think there's been discussion of cutting salaries. I see potential in other things, travel, advertising. I'm not wanting to cut people's, an increase in travel and education from 2,000 to 3,000. Those things are a lot, there's a lot of that maybe we don't need to do so much of that.
That's outside of the gas.
Yes.
They may have another line item for fuel costs.
Right.
Okay.
So, there's a lot of little things that I'm looking at cutting. So not cutting salaries, but definitely cutting other stuff in those budgets. Developing marketing promotion doesn't need an extra $2,000 just to run that extra fancy ad. We really need to be careful with expenditures because the money's just not coming in.
But to get to that 2 cent, I don't think we could cut 2,000 here and 2,000 there and never get to it.
No, but you could cut the 2,000 here, 2,000 there and help with our contingency
Oh, yeah.
with the
To go
capital
back, that's where
improvement.
we're going to go back in the stabilization fund,
Right.
like a
But
savings
if we're
account,
not
that's what
making,
we're
right,
for.
right, so we need to still
Yeah,
make
we-
these
we-
I'm
cuts.
not
intend
saying
to
we
do
may
that.
not have some cuts to still
Yeah.
make, I'm just saying, for Missy Keith's deadline,
Right,
we cannot come up with $336,000 or whatever it is.
right, I understand
This
that.
week.
Yeah,
So that's our only,
Yeah.
that's our only
Option.
option.
Not without a major cut somewhere.
yeah.
So then, from this day forward, when we meet, we can cut 2,000 here or 1,000 there.
I'm not putting away
But
my scissors.
that is,
Or it's okay.
Stabilization.
and that will move over into stabilization.
Right.
And then next year, when we get faced with this same problem again, we'll have a little bit, barring some
Which we're
emergency.
planning for the future.
Right, yeah. Yeah. It's not, I'm not saying that we're not going to go on with, working with the budget and then cut.
Oh, no.
You know,
Yeah,
We've got too
I
much.
agree with that.
yeah, yeah.
Let's see, well, there's a portion, see, this budget's predicated on 5% of the state. Well, they drop it to 4, there's a chunk of change.
Which goes to stabilization.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
because I remember that year we had the 5 cent. I think we bumped that stabilization up almost $300,000.
Yeah.
And then for a couple of years, it was pretty easy to balance the budget because we had money in savings.
Right.
But then we got to pulling a little bit here and there till we ended up shooting ourselves in the foot with it. But we was using it for stuff that it wasn't intended to be used for.
Do we have a hard date for when we need to do the personal property tax relief decision?
I'm sure there is,
August.
Okay,
I would think sometime in August.
I don't know when
By
the
the-
bills go out.
Yeah.
Well,
December.
they go
No,
out
they're
with
due in
the,
December.
yeah,
They,
so,
they don't go out till like October or something.
yeah, they go out in October,
Yeah.
so I would say we would have to have something ironed out as to whatever we want to do, or
Just
if
making
we.
sure that's not a pending hard,
No, that'll go out.
it is a little bit.
okay.
We got a little breathing room on
That's
that.
all, I'll take a
Yes,
deep
and-
breath in.
And if I might, Ms. Chair, some of the, I've been trying to check around, and like Montgomery, I think, has put their decision off till August,
Okay,
just to check and get a sense of what other folks
Okay.
are doing. Most of the counties around us have not made a decision
okay,
yet.
to keep it hard on our radar.
And you know,
Of
it was
course, one
talking,
thing that helps, some of those counties get their audit quicker than we do, and they get their finalized real numbers. Which we can't do.
Right, I understand.
we was talking about the
Currently.
jail population the other day. Back in November, October, November, December, we was running on about 890, 900 inmates in the jail there. This is March. We had 1,245. So see, the courts is opening back up.
Laying the
Floyd-
hammer down.
Yeah, and Floyd's got, 55 over right now.
Ms. Chair,
Summer
if
ain't
we-
even got here yet. I said, summer ain't even got here yet.
Yeah, you're right, you're right.
If we can,
Well, no, that works.
Birthday celebrations, 4th of July celebrations.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All you need is some good hot summer days, and that population right there is.
It goes up.
Yeah.
That's right. Just to say, to the extent that you have influence, if you can help us get some of those people back on sunny days, we've got much work to be done. You can
Yeah,
help
I
us.
intend-
And I'll buy a lot of lunch.
We got a
Lunches for
meeting
that.
at 12, I was gonna talk to Brian in between there. But, you know, we actually total inmates is 1,268, I'm sorry. We had some that wasn't in there yet. I won't mention the counties that's carrying the jail. It's got 200 and some inmates.
When you talk to him, I got a picture this morning of the dumpsters on Route 8 need some attention if he's got to work for us.
Talking about dumpsters, well, I started to make a citizen's request on a guy this morning, but when I put on an up note on that, I know one officer that worked Saturday, and they wrote 5, 3 over here at Simmons's and 2 at Willis. And they got sort of a little bit of tongue lashing in that end, but they got big time cussings over here.
Of course.
Yeah.
My district, of course.
No, they was coming out of neighboring jurisdictions.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay.
Yes, that's what they was.
Are you, does it sound like y'all are ready to adjourn?
You're right, because I got another meeting tonight, and I got a lot to do between here and that. So I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a
I'll,
meeting?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to adjourn, and
Whatever our next meeting.
I guess for our next meeting, May the 10th.
Yes, and we got a budget session afterwards, so that's when you can trim some more. So, motion and,
Second.
And if I might, I'm not sure. I will check if we have to schedule a hearing for your permit fee changes. So if we do, may we add that to the evening of May 10th?
It's
If not,
morning.
we won't.
If you have time to advertise.
you mean the afternoon?
That's why I wanted to know if we could adjourn, so we could set it in.
Well, let's back up a minute. On the 10th is a day meeting. You know, we're gonna have our,
Budget that
budget.
afternoon.
And you said add it to the evening? Does that mean?
No, that was my error, so I don't know what you would want to do. Thank you for correcting that. So if we have to do,
Public hearing first.
yeah, they don't like, the practice has been to do public hearings in the evening, not during the day.
Yeah. It may
So
be
if we
one
keep
where
to
we
that
have to have a
practice.
special one or something.
Well, yeah,
I'm not
Or-
available in the evening on the 10th.
okay.
You could, you
We
can
could
do
do
one
it during
during
the
the
day,
day.
but
There's
we're
no
gonna take a
reason you
blast.
can't, and people can.
Hmm,
Can we do it during the day?
sure. But we'll take a blast in on it.
All right, it's okay.
Well, we can make sure people know they can participate electronically or send us something in writing to read. How's that?
Yeah.
Does that help? You all okay with that on the 10th?
Judging by our last public public hearings, I don't think that's gonna be a real big problem. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that caveat, if I might, so adjourning till your next meeting on May 10th, which will include budget, your regular meeting, and potentially a public hearing if required. On that, who made the motion? Was it Mr.
Who made the
Cox?
motion? Jerry seconded.
Let me ask one more question before you go. You need us to actually authorize you to advertise, or is consensus good enough?
I think that you already did, but I just
Oh,
wanted,
okay.
I did not
Okay.
take the time to double check
Okay.
between the time, if we have to do a hearing or not, so just in case.
Or if it has to be advertised 2 times.
It does have to be advertised 2 times.
So they need to get it in like
Today.
5 minutes ago.
In about, between now and 2 o'clock.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Okay.
right. Okay, so based on that, Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Ms. Bechtold?
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook?
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Turman?
Yes.
All right, you
I'll
stand
sit here
adjourned. Thank you.
because we got a swarm of. Who's got a box? I was thinking if we had a big old box.
There's a box. Here's a box.
There's a box out there. Empty boxes right there.
You wanna go get it?
Yes, I have. Don't you have the